everyone, welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star, and today we're going to talk about how Keith and I prepared our business for a move across the country, or 1,100 miles approximately. Moving is hard, most people know that. Even just a move from one side of town to the other with all of your personal items can be very stressful, can be very hard, and it takes a lot of planning. When you're moving an entire business and all of your inventory, the logistics get a little bit more stressful and things get a little harder. And when you're moving as far as we did, it can be quite the undertaking. So you guys know that I do like to plan everything. I love my to-do list. I love my bullet journal. And so from, a year out, we started planning and we started getting ready. And a lot of people thought that sounded crazy, but we came up to the wire, and the only things that we encountered as far as speed bumps or things that upset the move were things that were out of our control. And we'll talk about that in the third part of this series. So we're going to have 3 parts to this series. This video is going to focus on how we got our inventory ready and what we did as far as that. The second one will focus on like budgeting and planning as far as money. And then the third one, I'm going to talk about things that can happen when you're about to move. And if they're beyond your control, there's really nothing you can do about them except stay calm, come up with a new plan, and keep going forward. And it's all about your outlook and how you let things affect you. If you have a defeatist attitude and you can get stressed out very easily, that's going to make it harder to bounce back. But we'll get into that in the third video. So anything we encountered that was a rough spot, I would say, were things that were out of our control. Anything that we could control, organize, prepare, have ready, we did. And we did that by about a year out, starting to think ahead of time what would need to be done. And we kept lists for the business and for the personal stuff, so that we were not going, you don't want to find that your inventory is all ready to go and your stuff isn't. So you have to do both at the same time. And that's why this was much harder, I think, than any other move I've ever done. If you're not aware, I am from Tucson, Arizona originally. I have lived in North Carolina. I have lived on the other side of Pennsylvania, New York, and I've lived in Pittsburgh. And I have moved 6 times cross country. I've moved way more than 6 times in my life. There were sometimes within the same city, I would move once every 2 or 3 years. I've moved a lot. I had a very nomadic life. And so there were 6 moves that were huge in cross country. So I do have some experience in this. This was the first time I've ever moved a business and inventory with me. So that was probably the hardest move I've ever done. I have to say, it's no joke. It was a lot harder than any other move I've done. But I think this is it. I'm pretty much over being nomad. That lifestyle is not for me anymore. And this is going to be our forever home. But having to move a business and inventory plus all the personal stuff, like I said, makes it a little bit more difficult. But if you plan, if you go into it with, lists and a plan of action, things do tend to go more smoothly. You don't forget anything that you should have done. You can cross things off as they get done. And if more things occur to you, you can keep writing them into the bullet journal or the to-do list that you're keeping. We started with a very small list, like a year out, and it just got bigger and bigger. And it even included things like changing the addresses, calling the utilities and cutting them off. I mean, we really sat down with pen and paper and wrote down everything we could think of that went into preparing for a move, pre and post. So we had, cancel the post office box, open a new one once we get there. We had calling all the utilities on there. We had change of address forms on there. And then we had the rooms in our old place broken down one by one with the tasks on there that we could do a year out, 6 months out, and then as we got closer. So, even a year before we knew the move was going to happen, we already were downsizing, decluttering, and packing. And it sounds like, oh my gosh, a year out, but it really, I think, alleviated a lot of stress towards the end. We were able to get things done at a very slow pace on our own time, a little bit here and a little bit there. And we didn't come to that end point right before the move where you have like a month or 2 weeks left and you're stressing out and you're trying to pack everything and you're maybe not making as good of choices as to what you should keep and what you should get rid of. So we did start that process a year out. We started with our personal items. We went through all the closets, the dressers, got rid of what we don't wear. If something I hadn't seen or worn for a year was in the dresser or the closet, it went to a donation pile. And we packed up anything we knew we wouldn't need. And a year out, that wasn't much. 6 months out, it was a little bit more. And as we got closer and closer, that what we could pack pile became bigger and bigger, and we eventually had boxes all over the house. But that was only for a few months. I'd say about a month and a half before the big move, we each picked out like 7 shirts and pants, like 7, weeks worth of clothing. And we each lived out of a suitcase for a couple of months, and the rest of the clothes got packed. And we went systematically through each room for a year off of these lists. And, at the year point, we may have just gone through all of our items and donated a bunch of stuff that we know we don't use, we're not going to need, and left it alone. And then maybe a couple months later, packed up all the board games we knew we weren't going to play and left it alone for a while. And then maybe I packed up all my books. But it was just a little bit at a time, just to help at the end alleviate a lot of that stress. So what we did with our inventory, which is what you came here to hear, is stuff that even if you're not moving, even if you're not planning a big move, I honestly would suggest that all resellers do these things once a year or so, just to stay organized, stay on top of your inventory, stay on top of your sales, and to constantly be looking at things with a different kind of outlook. So the first thing we did, we went through our inventory, bin by bin, and we made sure that it was all still listed on eBay. And you guys know I do recommend that typically for you guys to do once a year anyway. Twice a year, you really should be doing it, but minimum once a year. The reason is because things fall off of eBay. Nobody knows why this happens or how it happens, but it happens. And if you don't double check and go back through your inventory once or twice a year, you could have items taking up space in your bins or your inventory system that aren't even listed. And if they're not listed, obviously they can't sell. And you don't want them taking up room if they're not up for sale. So I would say we used to do it twice a year. We probably will continue that. But we would find maybe 10, 15 items out of 2 or 3 bins every day that weren't listed anymore. It just happens. No one knows why, but it does happen. And we would sit down, twice a year and say we're going to go through 2 or 3 bins a day. And we would find 10 items, 15 items sometimes. It was crazy. But the items that you find that fall off, you can make a decision about. Is it good enough to rephotograph and relist and put that work into it again? Or do you just want to donate it? Is it kind of poop or mediocre bread and butter that you just want to get rid of? And so we started to downsize our inventory by doing that. So we went through all of our inventory. If it wasn't listed and it wasn't really worth relisting or going through the work on again, we donated it, got rid of it. And then we made the decision to pull all of our hard goods out of the store and just go down to plush, clothes, shoes, and electronics, remotes, things like that. As we got closer, we actually pulled all of our remotes and sold them wholesale. So that's an idea for anyone that is getting ready for a move and wants to downsize. You don't necessarily have to pull a bunch of stuff out of your store and donate it. Of course, you want to do that if it's poop. But if it's good stuff, you could pull it and sell it wholesale. We can help you with that on our Shopify. We do run a wholesale website with Casey and help folks all the time. If you just want to downsize, want to get out of clothes, get out of Plush, and maybe sell something new. We help folks all the time. You can email us at liquidationlotsforless.com, the number 4, liquidation lots for less, and we can help you with that. And we did that. We took a lot of our poop out to donate, but we, some stuff we just pulled because we didn't want to have that much inventory to move. All the remotes, all the hard goods and stuff like that, we just wholesaled it off so that we at least broke even with our cost of goods. It's not made a couple bucks. And the rest was donated. And like I said, I would recommend you guys be doing these things anyway, even if you're not moving. Go through your inventory, make sure it's still listed. Go through your listings and look at them with a kind of an eye of, has it been around forever? Is it poop? Should I pull it? Maybe I don't want to do clothes or shoes anymore. I can drop them all and wholesale them off, take that money and reinvest it into something I'm more interested in listing. So these are all things that we did. And we dropped our listings, you guys know, from like 2,900 down to like 1,600 and change before the move. Just by pulling out those older items and just deciding that we were going to drop all the hard goods. And then what we did was we made sure that we went through all of our death piles and our I don't wanna piles and got rid of stuff in there that we thought we weren't going to deal with. Folks, there's a reason stuff is called an I don't wanna. And these I don't wanna piles continue to build up and build up. And I know you're guilty of this because I do it. Moving something from one pile over here and then moving it from that side of the room to the other side of the room and then maybe over here on a chair or over here on a couch and just constantly moving these I don't wannas around. You're never going to deal with them. You don't want to deal with them. That's why they're I don't wannas. And moving them around from place to place or room to room is not doing anything but moving the clutter around. So look at your I don't want to piles. If you're really never gonna, get rid of them. And that's what we did. So we got rid of all of our I don't want to piles. Like maybe a couple of things out of those I actually had Plush that I would actually test, and if it worked, I'd list it. Some items we were able to figure out why they were in there I don't want to pile and deal with it and get them photographed and listed, but most of it got donated. And then we went through our death piles. And we took a lot of pictures and put things into our inventory system. If you aren't aware, when we photograph an item, after we take the pictures of the item, we put it into the bag it's going to ship in, be it a poly bag for first class or a padded flat for like jeans and things that weigh over a pound. And then they go into our system that we have. All of our bins are labeled with numbers, letters, and then each bin holds like 20 pieces. So you would have like A1 through A20 and then A11 through A120 and so on and so forth. And so when we photograph items, we have the tags in a bowl and we reuse them. So whenever we pull stuff to ship, we pull it out of its location, we pull the tags off the bag, put them in the bowl, and then when we take photos, we pull out of that bowl. So you're constantly reusing your space instead of wasting space or buying more bins or having not enough items in each bin. So if I pulled 3 items out of bin A and 2 out of C today to ship, I'm going to have those 5 tags and I'm going to put stuff right back in. Make sense? I hope so. So anyway, what we did was we went through our death piles and we took tons and tons and tons and tons of photos and filled up all of our inventory. We used up all of our tags and we got everything into the bins full and ready to go. And then we taped them shut when we actually ended up getting ready for the move closer to. We had our eBay store online and selling in our Posh Market Macari. We didn't shut any of our stores down until the Monday before we left. We were supposed to leave on Wednesday. We did not leave until Friday, but that story will be in part 3. So what we considered to be 2 days before we left, we put all of our stores on hold or vacation mode, and then went and just taped all of our bins closed. And that was how they moved. We moved all of our inventory in the bins, in the bags, with their numbers on them, just the way our system is. We just take the lids on to make sure that they were safe for transport and wouldn't like fall on the truck and stuff go everywhere or fall out and get out of order or whatever. But, you know, the year leading up to the move, we were still buying wholesale. We were still getting a lot of stuff in. We just made sure that we stayed on top of it, took as many photos as we could. Even if we didn't list everything we photographed a lot. We, in fact, photographed more than we were listing on purpose so we could keep our bins full, and all of those slots that we were taking stuff out and shipping each day, we could keep them full. So the bins were going to move whether they were full or not. That was our thinking. The bins were going to go as they were. So we might as well make sure we had all 20 slots taken in each bin. Instead of having boxes full of unlisted inventory, we could have it photographed at least in a spot, and we would have the photos to list from. And that's what we've been listing from this week. Mostly I did have some new jeans come in that I worked on a couple days this week, our first week in Florida. But we had all of those extra photos saved, and we were listing from those. And so after we take the photos of an item, you know, on the mannequin or whatever, we put it in the bag, and the last picture we take is of it on the scale with its location. And so we can still put in what they weigh, what bin they're in, and their slot number months later after we took those photos. So that was how we kind of geared up for that whole year, and we just did more as we got closer. We dropped all the poop, all the hard goods. We double-checked our inventory. We stayed on top of the death piles, and we got rid of most of the I don't wanna piles, and made sure that our inventory system was in place, working right, and staying full. And then we did end up with some inventory that we didn't get around to photographing because we were buying wholesale that whole time, and they just stayed in the boxes that they were shipped to us in, already taped and everything, and we just wrote on them unlisted inventory, and those are separated from our inventory in the storage unit that we are working out of right now, so we can still sell and still list and get stuff to work on each day. So that was how we organized our inventory and got it ready, how we downsized it. We had to make some decisions, but you know, again, we should all be doing that all the time anyway. If you have I don't wannas and they're just moving around the room or from one pile to the next, you're probably never going to deal with them. Just get rid of them. Stay on top of your death piles. You want to have extra inventory just in case. I don't ever suggest not having any extra inventory on hand or any death pile, just because of what happened when the shutdown happened in 2020. A lot of folks were left without any inventory or any way of getting inventory. You just never know what's going to happen. So it's a good idea to have a little extra, but you don't want to have a whole ton of bunch. Have a good inventory system in place, make a lot of lists, and just get prepared to move as organized as you can. And a lot of this is stuff you should be doing anyway. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down in the comments below. Like I said, I'll be back with 2 more parts to this story or series on budgeting, money, sales, and all of that stuff. We'll talk about that in the second video. We did run a lot of sales and clearance stuff out. We planned, we budgeted. I'll, of course, mention Dave Ramsey like I always do. And then in the third video, we'll just talk about I guess I have a story to tell about what happened with our movers in our truck and how we handled it, and just a little bit of a motivational video about how to roll with the punches and react to things in such a way that you can find a solution. You're allowed to be stressed and upset, of course. Everyone is. We're humans. But how you react determines how well you problem solve. So I'll be back later on with those, but if you have any questions about the inventory or anything like that, you can leave a comment. You can join our Facebook group, Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. It's down below in the description box. It's free to join, and you can tag me in there anytime you need anything. Other than that, guys, don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. It helps the channel so much. Follow us on Instagram, and thanks for watching. Go be productive. Go make some money. Thanks for watching. Y'all are the best. Bye.